Hello everyone, welcome to FG Mania. Tormented Souls is a third-person horror game, inspired by the Resident Evil and Alone in the Dark series, released on August 27th. Tormented Souls is set in the 40s to 50s of the 20th century and has many new and more modern changes. The camera angle brings a cinematic experience to gamers. This game promises to bring a feeling of nostalgia mixed with a bit of modernity for fans of the survival horror series. And now, without letting you wait too long, let's explore the plot of this game. The plot of Tormented Souls begins one morning in mid-1994. Caroline Walker, a young girl from the city of Campbell River in Canada, suddenly received a strange letter from Wildberger Hospital in Winterlake. The sender's name was half-jokingly John Doe, which is a common name for unidentified male corpses. Inside the letter was an old photo of a pair of twin sisters, with a threatening message on the back. "You think you can leave us here?" Oddly enough, when looking at the photo, a headache hit and Caroline suddenly realized how familiar this picture was. Struggling with finding out the truth of the photo, a few weeks later, Caroline managed to find Wildberger Hospital, follow the address saved on the letter to find out the truth behind the other letter. It was strange that even though the lights were on in the building, there seemed to be no one there. She crept into the lobby when suddenly someone knocked her unconscious from behind. Caroline regained consciousness a short time later and found herself undressed in the bathtub. The mouth plugs a breathing tube into the lungs connected to the ventilator, surrounded by operating room equipment. After pulling herself out of the breathing tube, getting out of the bath and putting on her clothes, she was shocked to find that one of her eyes was covered with bandages. Frightened, she removed the bandage and discovered that her right eyeball had been taken out by someone. Once she had calmed down and gotten over the shock, Caroline began rummaging around in the hopes of getting some answers. She realized she was in a room that used to be a bathroom and toilet. Outside in the hallway, it was all lit with candles. Looks like this building has lost power. Caroline has to use a lighter to light the way. She realized that the entrance to the hall was closed with a steel pull-down door. Only a hexagonal lever could open it. Caroline then turned to find another way. She crept down to the basement and was pursued by a monstrous creature in a wheelchair with two hands attached to long blades. Escaping into a room, she suddenly met an old man dressed in a priest's uniform who was casting spells on a dead body. The priest surprised Caroline by saying that he had met her a few days ago. Caroline replied quite confused because she didn't remember anything. The priest immediately said that he must have been distracted because at his age he often misremembered events. He also said the building lost power due to a faulty generator. He also gave Caroline a modified pneumatic nail gun to increase firepower for self-defense. Caroline found the generator and restarted it, re-energizing the building. When she returned, the old priest suggested that what she needed to know might be in the library. It's on the opposite side of the building, so you need to get to the main hall first. As she searched the rooms, Caroline noticed a dead body in the maternity ward, clutching a swing arm that raised the iron door. However, this patient died of a heart attack, so her fists did not let go and her heart was also taken. The documents left behind mentioned that a lamp in the room was broken, but when the mechanic came to fix it, a man stopped him. Caroline tried to investigate this suspicious lamp and discovered that the lamp holder was a secret switch that opened a small cellar below the maternity ward. In this room there is a large mirror, and when Caroline tried to light the candles on either side of the mirror, the reflection inside changed. A ghost appeared and rushed into the mirror, causing it to crack. One strange thing is that when Caroline tried to touch the mirror, it was discovered that it was a portal through space. Stepping through the gate, Caroline realized it was still a secret room, but in a different dimension. All the surrounding decorations were different. The maternity room above also became dilapidated and old, as if it had been decades. In particular, the position of the previous corpse was replaced by a doll that also lost its heart. Caroline used a plastic heart instead and returned to the cellar, step through the mirror to reality, and discover the corpse's heart has been returned. Ignoring the question of this strange phenomenon, Caroline gave an electric shock that caused the corpse to convulse, leading to the opening of the spastic hand. From here Caroline obtained the necessary tools and opened the sliding iron door to enter the hall. This is an old European-style villa converted into a private hospital. Exquisitely carved wooden furniture, paintings, statues, art reliefs are mixed with medical machinery and equipment. According to some documents in the building, this land once belonged to an indigenous tribe called Tismuit. This tribe has a tradition of sacrificing twins to their god. This was recorded when explorers came to conquer this place about 500 years ago. Finding the library, Caroline realized that the picture hanging on the wall was the same pair of twins in the photo she had received in the mail. According to the diaries scattered throughout the building, these are twins Anna and Emma Wildberger. They are the children of the hospital's director, William Wildberger, and his wife Maria Morist. About this couple, as soon as they were married, William discovered that his wife's back was full of scars. His wife said that as a child she was raised harshly by her biological father, Noah, in the style of an extreme pious person. Later, when they got married, the couple tried for many years, but Maria repeatedly miscarried, making them both very desperate. Maria is haunted by the extreme parenting style of her father when she was a child, so she believes that it is her fault that she cannot have children. She whipped herself repeatedly on the back as a way of punishing herself. However, things turned brighter when in 1971 they gave birth to a healthy set of twins. Both are very happy, thinking that all difficulties are over. However, William was worried when he saw Noah's strange eyes when he looked at his two granddaughters. Caroline assumed the twins were about to undergo some sort of rite of passage that involved dissection. That's why when I met the priest in the nearby dining room, Caroline had told everything, hoping he knew something else to guide. The priest said the main operating room of this hospital is located on the upper floor of the building. Reaching the operating room, Caroline met the priest again in the observation room. He was looking into the next room through a clear glass. But it was strange when Caroline saw a man in bizarre armor walking around a corpse on the operating table while the priest insisted that he saw nothing. Inside the operating room, Caroline did not find the twins, but instead a large monster that appeared to have been human, but underwent a lot of surgery to change it to become abnormally deformed. With the scalpel found in the room, Caroline cut the rope that was securing the hatch cover and entered the parlor's morgue in the basement. At the morgue, the girl noticed a trail of blood extending to the back of a refrigerator. Pushing open the cabinet, she discovered that it was the way down to a secret laboratory. The room was full of surgical and experimental equipment. Caroline paid particular attention to the row of cells at the far end of the block. Approaching the cell, she discovered a skeleton of a child in the room. With the outside door locked with chains and loose locks, could someone have imprisoned this child to death? While wandering around the cell block, Caroline found a very suspicious videotape. She took it to the hospital conference room, where there was a projector that could play the tape. Surprisingly, the projection screen also has the same penetrating effect as the previous mirror. Caroline stepped through the curtain, past the camera lens, and returned to 1980, the time the tape was recorded. In the cell now was a little girl who was lighting a candle. The little girl said her name was Anna. Taking advantage of her father's business trip, her grandfather led someone to arrest all three of them. According to documents collected in the house, Caroline learned that the two children's grandfather, Noah, was involved in some kind of cult continued the tradition of sacrificing twins. On the occasion of William's business trip, they quickly arrested the mother and daughter and performed sacrifices. The sacrifice area was a heavily radioactive cellar, but Maria risked her life without protective gear to rush in to save the children. Grandfather Bertrand Wildberger also appeared, wearing protective gear to attack the followers to pave the way for the mother and daughter to escape. When the three people ran to the middle of the bridge, they were surrounded by believers. In a panic, Emma fell off the bridge into the river below and went missing. Anna and Maria were arrested and separated. Caroline then calmed Anna down and poured a bottle of acid she got from the hospital on the lock. She tells Anna to wait, it will take a while for the lock to corrode. However, when it came to the photo, Anna said, "It was just taken by Mr. William for the two of us yesterday morning before leaving for business." It's a lie that Caroline got the photo in the mail a few weeks ago, so Anna left the room and didn't talk anymore. With no other choice, Caroline had to return to reality and return to the cell to find out. The skeleton in the room has disappeared. Instead, the remaining pages of Anna's diary say that sometime later the lock that the strange girl poured acid on broke. Anna has successfully escaped and will find a hidden place in the hospital to hide. Continuing to look for Anna, Caroline met the priest sitting in the ICU, whose left arm had been severed by someone. In the next room, Caroline found a mirror and continued through the air to reassemble the old priest's arm. Through the conversation with the old man, she knew that William, the hospital director, was also here, and he used to sit in his own office on the top floor of the house. Using a videotape of the chapel and going through it, Caroline continued to find her way upstairs when she encountered a terrible monster. It has a fat appearance with sagging skin. As soon as he saw Caroline, he rushed into pursuit, causing her to run to another room and wait for him to leave. Entering the office, Caroline found William dead. His body is still warm. This shows that he was killed only a few hours ago. According to the collected documents, after returning from a business trip, William was almost devastated with continuous bad news. His two daughters were missing, his wife was found in a vegetative state, and his father, Bertrand, had been killed. After Maria regained consciousness, she went mad again. She attacked everyone and no longer recognized anyone. A strange disease began to take hold in her body, causing the skin to blister and begin to deform like a strong radiation exposure. William did all he could to research this cure. He used the hospital to test drugs on patients and then cover up their deaths with pathological causes. After 14 years, the cure was finally found. He needed to find one last tester to determine the effectiveness. However, the hospital moved, so there were no more patients to try. Luck came to him when he discovered a young girl sneaking into the house a few days ago. He knocked the girl unconscious, connected her to a ventilator, and then injected Maria's infected blood and an antidote sample to monitor the results. From previous tests, he knew that even after being cured, a person who was severely infected would still die due to too much damage to the body. However, he still hopes to see his wife again in a sober state just a few seconds before she dies. At this point, Caroline realized that the person who knocked her down and put her in the bathtub was William. However, his diary never mentions taking one of her eyes. William's office had a hatch leading down to the pumping station and from there to the sewer. Underneath the sewer was a large iron door that appeared to be the door of a wartime bunker or a bank's secure vault. Here, Caroline finds the next pages of Anna's diary. Accordingly, after escaping from the prison, Anna was quickly caught by Noah and imprisoned in a room in this sewer. She has been in the dark since 1980 with only an old TV as a friend. A strange disease caused by radiation has begun to appear with symptoms of blisters on the skin, and Anna also had a vague feeling about a strange girl who came as in a dream through her days locked in a dark cellar. Caroline finds the cell that once kept Anna, and from the large mirror in her room she found her own room in the city of Campbell River.
What? Is this my room? But this is hundreds of miles away from the mansion.
A diary entry dated January 1994 shows that after 14 years in captivity, Noah returned to open the cell and was surprised to find Anna still alive. He was glad that he had found information about the remaining child. The old sacrifice ceremony could still continue. Anna continues to be detained waiting to bring Emma back, but her resentment makes her reckless. Knowing that the hatch can only be opened by scanning the irises of twins, identical eyes, at 2 locations apart. One person cannot do it due to the distance of 2 scanners. Therefore, to protect Emma and foil Noah's plan, Anna used a knife to blind her eyes. From the key found in the sewers, Caroline was able to open a room with strange symbols in the corridor connecting the east and west wings of the basement in the house. This seems to be the place of secret society activities and is a cellar from a long time ago. In the cellar workroom, Caroline found the antidote that William had successfully crafted. Returning to William's office, Caroline found a music box. She turned the knob, a tune played, and suddenly a headache came over Caroline. She recalled all her hidden memories after falling into the river 14 years ago. She is Emma Wildberger, who was lost and adopted somewhere else. After remembering her identity, Caroline resolved to rescue her twin sister. She believes that Anna is being held behind the thick cellar door and at all costs, she must open it. Caroline found a secret drawer in William's study. Inside there was a tape of the dentist's room from a few days ago. Playing this tape on the conference room machine helped Caroline find herself in a coma in the bathtub a few days ago. She found a way to open the hatch. That's to take out one of my irises and hang it on one scanner while I'm going to stand and scan the other eye. However, after the hatch opened, there was a small empty room in front of him. Caroline fell to her knees in disappointment, thinking she was too late. At this moment, the priest stepped up from behind her and pressed a special block of bricks. A secret door opened to a dark corridor in the back. Caroline now calls the priest the right name, Grandpa Noah. Noah knows that Caroline has regained her memory. He assumes that Caroline also remembers her duty as a sacrifice. With the tone of a radical believer, Noah thinks that the Wildberger sisters should recognize their obligation as a sacrifice. Maria wanted to cause trouble, so she received a worthy death. As for William and Bertrand, they have already done their roles, so it's okay to die. William's remedy can be used by the followers of the cult to help them fight the radiation emitted by their gods. Noah said that if Caroline wanted to free Anna, she had to go inside. She knew it meant she could be sacrificed if she was captured by Noah, who had Anna in hand. Caroline chased Noah into the door. This is an old fortified tunnel system. Here she also found the last documents of her grandfather Bertrand Wildberger. The story begins in 1927 when young Bertrand Wildberger, lost in life, read a book about a secret society called Pollux Sect. When he entered the sacred room in the basement of the guild, he found a special object. It was a raw egg of some kind of creature. Bertrand immediately believed in the teaching of Pollux Sect that he was the savior of the world. When the eggs hatch, the one who will descend to Earth and help humanity evolve into perfection. The egg emits special radiation that causes imperfect mortals to become ill and gradually destroy the body. By 1946, Bertrand had restored the Pollux sect with many members participating. They are constantly looking for twins in the area to sacrifice to raise this type of egg. By 1967, however, twins became increasingly difficult to find and radiation began to expose members to symptoms of exposure. Bertrand worries these will cause believers to lose faith. It will be difficult for him to hold the position of elder of the guild, and be afraid of extremist members will go up instead, and then do something foolish to expose the guild. Bertrand constantly experimented with finding a cure for the disease, as well as ways to have more twins. By 1971 he was delighted when his experiment was successful. A perfect pair of twins was born, promising that when sacrificed, the eggs would hatch and the Supreme Being would come to Earth. He just had to wait until the two children were 10 years old to harvest. However, on that day, the day of the sacrifice in 1980, Bertrand could not bear to see his two granddaughters being taken to the altar. He put on protective gear and waited for Noah to bring them to the ceremony area to prepare to rescue. After helping Maria carry two children to escape, he hid at the door of the cellar to prevent the followers from pursuing him. In the last lines of his diary, Bertrand said he had only a few bullets left. He knows he doesn't deserve forgiveness, but if his words can leak, he still wanted to apologize to his son William for all the mistakes he had made. Back with Caroline, after groping through the underground tunnel system, she entered a cellar with very ancient sculptures. Noah was waiting with two binding tables. One of them is holding a large, fat, sagging monster that was once seen in the house. Noah said that it was Anna, and the other side of the table was of course for Caroline. Noah yelled at the armor-clad believers to rush in to arrest Caroline, and he went first into the sacred room to prepare. Caroline used her collected weapons to fight back and destroy the attackers. She injected Anna with an antidote and helped her twin sister down. Anna regained her original form and died in Caroline's arms. The last enemy is only Noah. Caroline picked up the iron cutter hidden in the table and tied Anna with it, then entered the elevator down to the deepest floor of the ancient cellar. Noah was waiting by a giant mass of meat hanging in the middle of the room on a cross. He used a knife to cut his hand to take blood to transfuse the meat mass and then died. Since it wasn't the blood of the twins, instead of hatching into a savior, the mass of flesh hatched into a hideous monster. Caroline noticed that above the mass of meat there was a giant industrial drill used for burrowing. She ran around removing the tentacles of the mass of meat to install the shafts that controlled the drill. When the drill bit is in place, Caroline shot off the suspension shaft, sending the giant metal drill straight down on the monster's head. The monster was poked straight from the top of its head, so it died on the spot. All enemies are dead. Caroline also found the key to the hospital's main door to get out. However, she still has one more thing to do. Caroline returned to the conference room, using the 1980 tape to return to the cell where Anna was waiting. The lock wasn't completely corroded yet, but she had iron cutters to cut the lock instantly. Caroline led Anna through the screen back to reality and then opened the main gate of the building to lead Anna out. Despite knowing this was wrong, Caroline was determined to do what she could to save Anna from a tragic end if she stayed in that cell. The sisters walked out of the main hall into the bright sunlight outside. Caroline decided to adopt Anna and hoped that if one day she unfortunately found out the truth, she would also forgive her. And it's a bright ending if you can open true ending. So what happens when you don't make the right choice? The game has two bad endings depending on the player's choice. The first is the forgetfulness ending, when Caroline chose to kill Anna, now a hideous monster, with a scalpel instead of using a cure before the final boss fight. In the end, Caroline will continue to live a lonely life and will probably be tormented for the rest of her life by her decision. The game ends with Caroline walking out onto the field and looking back at the hospital with regret. Says the past is unchangeable and apologizes to her parents. Bad ending 2-2, remorse ending, when Caroline left Anna tied on the table and went straight into the final boss fight. After the battle was over, Caroline stepped out into the yard and then turned to take one last look at the house. but she suddenly became startled because she saw something chasing her. It was Anna, who rushed out of the house to attack Caroline. In general, the story in Tormented Souls has quite unexpected turns about time travel. The point of the game is the image of the laboratory that is vividly depicted in every detail. From the layout of the furniture, medical appliances and equipment to the sophistication shown on the floor and wall tiles in each room. The angle of rotation in this horror game is also changed quite flexibly, even though this is a low-budget game project. What do you think about this game? Please comment your opinion below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.